When a businessman dies of a heart attack, the coroner's investigation is all routine.
It didn't look like there was any struggle. Nothing was askew.
And when a claim is filed for his life insurance policy, the insurance investigation is all routine.
Appeared to be no reason to be suspicious.
But a routine phone call is the first thread that unravels the best laid plans.
Everything from start to finish showed elaborate planning and an attempt to create a perfect crime.
When nothing is as it seems at the scene of the crime.
How long's he been in arrest?
45 minutes.
On the morning of April 16, 1988, Los Angeles County paramedics responded to a 911 call. It came from the offices of a Glendale, California physician named Richard Boggs.
Ready. Doc, he's a 4+.
Boggs was a Harvard-educated MD. The dead man, 46-year-old Melvin Eugene Hansen, was a patient in his care.
How old was he? 47. No, I'm sorry, 46.
You got his file handy?
The doctor told police that Hansen, a former Los Angeles resident, had been visiting from Ohio when he died of an apparent heart attack. Police called in the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office.
When I arrived at the scene of the death, I was directed to an examination room in the doctor's office. I observed an adult male lying on the floor with his feet on a pillow. It didn't look like there was any struggle. Nothing was askew. You know, there's no gunshot wounds, there's no stab wounds. It doesn't look like anyone strangled him. Just looking for signs that indicates to me that foul play might have taken place. And I didn't find anything.
Craig Harvey's findings agreed with the doctor's diagnosis. He also found evidence to confirm Hansen's identity.
When I was going through his pockets looking for personal property, I located a couple American Express credit cards and another MasterCard and a folded copy of a birth certificate for Melvin Eugene Hansen.
Autopsy findings were also routine.
Let's open him up.
There was no sign of injury, and Hansen's organs appeared healthy. The only unusual things noted by the medical examiner were the man looked young for a stated age of 46, and his blood alcohol level was nearly 3 times the legal limit. And a medical file found in Dr. Boggs' office showed that Melvin Hansen was a man who didn't have long to live.
The chart showed a long history of heart problems, and it also had in it EKG strips taken at different times in different places. Looking at the chart, one would say, well, Melvin Hansen was a guy who had a history of heart problems, and dying of heart disease would not be unheard of.
The final diagnosis, non-specific focal myocarditis. In layman's terms, death by heart disease. It seemed Melvin Eugene Hansen had finally succumbed to his illness.
It was the information from Dr. Boggs that gave us somewhat of a comfort level with our final diagnosis, and we went ahead and closed the case out.
The next day, Hansen's business partner and executor, John Barrett Hawkins, arrived from Columbus, Ohio with Hansen's will. The will, which named Hawkins as the sole beneficiary, directed that Hansen's body be cremated. Two weeks later, Hawkins filed a claim for Hansen's $1 million life insurance policy, which started a routine investigation by the insurance company into the death of Mr. Hansen.
It was just routine questioning. And the death had occurred fairly shortly after the policy had been purchased, and there appeared to be no reason to be suspicious. Melvin Hansen's physician, Dr. Boggs, had identified the body.
On July 7th, Farmers New World Life wrote the $1 million check to John Hawkins. 6 days later, the claims representative made a routine phone call to follow up on a fingerprint comparison she had requested. The results set off a chain reaction.
I was in a special unit that dealt with problems. ID problems, unidentified, John Does, Jane Does. One of the supervisors came to me. He was double-checking the identity of a body because there was a large life insurance policy. He said, double-check the ID on this case. You know, let's have the original prints looked at. Something wasn't right, so I called the California Department of Justice and simply told them to pull the prints on Melvin Hansen, the dead guy, and compare them with his driver's license. 2 right thumb prints didn't match.
The dead man was not Melvin Hansen.
Had she not asked the question, there's a significant chance that no one ever would have discovered that the corpse in Dr. Boggs' office that had been identified as Melvin Hansen was not Melvin Hansen. Farmers attempted to stop payment on the check, but it had already been cashed, and it was too late.
When Farmers tried to retrieve the money, they discovered that Hawkins had left town.
John.
Hi.
John Hawkins' roommate, Eric DeSando, saw him just before he disappeared.
Going somewhere?
Yeah. Listen, E, I am going to cut out for a while. Take a vacation. You know, get out on the water.
Great. Start spending some of that cash, huh?
Right. Speaking of, here, something to cover the rent.
He had drained various bank accounts. The money was gone. A lot of it was just taken out in a flurry at the end as he was leaving town.
Actually, Eric, this is the last time you're going to see me.
We were forced to exercise other options to try to get the money back.
Hawkins had absconded with more than $800,000 from the original $1 million payout. Over $300,000 was taken in cash. In Los Angeles, a fraud investigation was now underway.
If you have somebody who's dead and they're not the person who's insured, you seem to have a life insurance fraud.
So investigators set their sights on Dr. Boggs.
The question then becomes, Dr. Boggs, what is his role in this? Is he a participant or is he some kind of innocent dupe?
The doctor was a necessary element in our mind at the very outset in order to pull off this scam, and we had to find out exactly who was involved in the scam besides the doctor.
On August 25th, 1988, in Melvin Eugene Hansen's adopted home of Columbus, Ohio, the story of the body double sparked another investigation, this one by the local paper.
We got into this case kind of the way a lot of things happen in newsrooms. We got a tip, we got a phone call. The lawyer in town told us that there was an insurance company that was trying to get some money back and that they had actually filed a lawsuit, Farmers New World Life Insurance versus John Hawkins. We basically threw it in the paper with knowing what we knew, but that opened the floodgates because then everyone started calling because John Hawkins and Melvin Hansen knew and it touched a lot of lives in our town. So everyone had something to tell us about them.
Hansen and Hawkins were Columbus success stories. In 3 short years, their athletic clothing company, Just Sweat, had grown from a single store to a chain of 22 outlets across the Midwest.
Just Sweat's is dressing America in style.
The good-looking and charismatic 25-year-old John Hawkins was well-known and well-liked, a regular on the local party circuit.
I was most struck by the fact that, I don't recall exactly how many, but more than 3 or 4 women called identifying themselves as his girlfriend. It kind of gave us a very early indication about what he was like.
Hawkins' charm always seemed to work in his favor, especially when it came to Gene Hansen.
He and Gene seemed to have a special bond. Gene, we learned, was gay. I don't really think he and John were involved, but they definitely were very tight, very loyal, very devoted to one another, and very close business partners.
In November of 1987, 5 months before his untimely death, Melvin Gene Hansen changed his will and made John Hawkins the sole beneficiary. Around the same time, Hansen purchased $1 million in life insurance, and he began to tell people that he was suffering from a terminal illness.
Mr. Hansen basically created this atmosphere that he was dying, that he had to go to California to enjoy his last few days, weeks, or months to be near his doctor, and everybody shed a tear for poor Mr. Hansen.
And 4 months after Melvin Eugene Hansen left Columbus, a man named Melvin Eugene Hansen turned up dead in Glendale. As details of the possible insurance fraud surfaced in the press, the growing scandal put pressure on the insurance company to quickly resolve the case. While fraud investigators pursued leads in California, Farmers employed its own team of private investigators to follow the trail from Columbus.
Oh, Dino, sit down. We got this from Farmers. John Barrett Hawkins cashed a check for $1 million, then he just fell off the planet.
The primary goal was to prove that Melvin Hansen was still alive, because that would prove the insurance fraud. The collateral goal was to get the money back. And, of course, you have to prove the one to get the other.
Named the sole beneficiary in the will of one Melvin Eugene Hansen, now deceased.
So we got as many facts as was available at the time, which were precious few, and commenced an investigation focusing on Hawkins' last known address in Columbus.
You need to talk to his roommate.
We concentrated our efforts on his former roommate, a fellow by the name of Eric DeSando.
Here's the address. And Dino, let's get on this right away.
Situations like this, you immediately want to go to some of the suspects or the principals involved and try to get to them immediately before they have time to develop some story.
Doctor, there's a Mr. Jones here to see you.
In Los Angeles, fraud investigators paid a visit to Dr. Boggs for his account of the events that took place on the morning of April 16th.
Dr. Boggs told us that the deceased in his office, his alleged patient Melvin Eugene Hansen, had called approximately 3 o'clock in the morning. Hansen was having some heart problems or heart complications, and he was on his way to the doctor's office.
All right, Melvin. The first thing I want you to do is just try to relax.
He did some kind of an examination on Hansen and left the room for a little while. And then he heard a thump or a thud and went back in the room, and Hansen was on the floor.
Dr. Boggs also told us that he attempted to call 911 several times, but was getting busy signals.
It didn't make sense, 911 being busy on a Saturday morning, why he would even have him come to his office. He has no equipment to deal with an emergency like that. And when a patient calls in distress, you should send him straight to the hospital, to emergency room, but he didn't do that. It just didn't make sense. None of it did.
Saturday, Trading Spaces goes to jolly old England to decorate 2 flats in true Yank fashion. Then, back in the colonies, Edward searches for serenity, and the ever-so-graceful Hildy breaks a leg. Trading Spaces, Saturday at 8, only on TLC.
Your home, your ideas, and the freedom to express them. At Lowe's, we make it easy. Only Lowe's sells thick, durable Olympic paint. The same Olympic famous for stains. Lowe's Paint Center will match any color and help you paint like a pro. And Lowe's has low prices every day guaranteed. That's our promise. Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Now get a $6 mail-in rebate with every gallon of Olympic interior and exterior paint.
If your tires can't do this, you need new tires that can. Goodyear tires. Right now, when you buy 4 selected Goodyear tires, you'll get up to a $50 gift card for the Home Depot. Now, that's one hard-working deal.
Choice Hotels makes this summer the perfect time to get away. You'll get a coupon for free food from McDonald's when you stay at a Choice Hotel. What's more, we're giving away a 2003 Jeep Liberty and free gas for a year every week this summer. Visit choicehotels.com for your chance to win. Gas, food, lodging. Call 800-4CHOICE and ask for the gas, food, lodging rate.
What brings you to the Rhode Island Culinary Institute?
That's a good question.
What brings you to southern New Mexico State?
You travel many miles. Why Gestalt School of Art?
What made you decide to make the trip all the way to Memphis Polytech?
$139 a week for any mid-size at Budget. For irresistible prices on irresistible cars, call 1-800-BUDGET-7 or visit budget.com.
They're here. A new generation. Stronger, more intelligent, ready to inherit the Earth. Well, maybe not just yet. Find out how far we've come and how far we've got to go.
Our robots today have the intelligence of a cockroach.
Evolution of a new species. Robo Sapiens. Encore's Wednesday at 10, only on TLC.
Well, I like that most big ticket purchases are made by cable viewers, but I'm selling trucks here. Does cable work for men?
Does cable work for men? Take a look.
Where do I sign?
Adelphia Media Services. The power of cable starts here.
No matter what your kitchen looks like now, make it look brand new again with kitchen cabinet refacing from Century 21 Home Improvements, America's leader in cabinet refacing. We have the best selection of styles, colors, and accessories. You're sure to find a design that complements your home perfectly. Your cabinet frames are probably in great shape, so why replace them? You'll save hundreds of dollars by only replacing cabinet doors, drawer fronts, hardware, and countertops. Call Century 21 Home Improvements now and take advantage of our half-off offer. Pay no money down with payments as low as $79 per month. Call Century 21 Home Improvements now.
TLC's got the truth behind urban legends.
On the next Mostly True Stories, find out why people feel the need to retell these haunting tales. A family pet swept under the rug. A gourmet meal with a surprise ingredient. A commode primed to explode.
Nobody believes these stories anyway. But maybe they should.
Mostly True Stories, Urban Legends Revealed. Next Tuesday at 9, only on TLC.
In February of 1988, 2 months before the man who was supposed to be Melvin Hansen died in the Glendale, California examining room of Dr. Richard Boggs, a man named Wolfgang von Snowden moved into a condo in Miami, Florida. 3 months after the man who was supposed to be Melvin Hansen died, Hansen's business partner, John Hawkins, disappeared. And 2 months after that, an undercover investigator posing as a magazine reporter was questioning John Hawkins' former roommate, a deck salesman named Eric DeSando.
He was almost a celebrity.
John and Eric partied all over the city, so Eric knew a lot about John's lifestyle, his loves, and he was very willing to talk about that under the right circumstances.
He wanted to talk, and that's the one thing I capitalized on. He wanted the attention. So when I mentioned that this looked like the basis of a good article that could probably be in a national publication like Rolling Stone or Esquire or whatever, that really piqued his interest a lot.
What DeSando talked about was a scam that Hawkins had confessed to him the night before he left Columbus.
What about the dead guy, Hansen? Hansen's not dead. I don't know all the details. All right. The other day, John's leaving. He says to me, dude, Gene's alive. What?
John actually said that Gene's alive, which Eric freaked out. He goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, I can't go into a whole lot of detail about it, but I'm going to have to get out of town because they're going to think I have something to do with this. And he split.
DeSando also knew it wasn't the first scheme that Hansen and Hawkins had devised during their 7-year friendship.
They had a long history of insurance scams we had found out in our investigation, where they had defrauded insurance companies on everything from property claims to trying to set up this business to defraud investors.
Right now, obviously, I don't want to actually hurt me or hit me, okay?
We had heard about some car accident scams out in California that where they would fake injuries, Boggs would verify those injuries for them and then collect money on insurance from it. But like a lot of people who get involved in this type of activity, they start small, adding a little bit on an insurance claim to begin with, then you get bolder and bolder.
Excuse me.
Hawkins' roommate would also provide investigators with a parting gift.
Hey, Eric, do you mind if I take a look around? No, anything you want.
I asked if I could look around the apartment just to get an idea for the story.
Hello.
went into John's closet and I found a trash bag. In that trash bag was what I guess you would call the mother lode of information.
He was like a neurotic note person. He liked to make lists. There was a note that we found that had initials. I believe it was like M and F, which we divined was mother and father. There was one B for Boggs, and then the payouts to each. So we had a list that mentioned, among other things, get the money, get identification, and distance myself from Wolfgang. Then we had a phone record of calls from Eric DeSanto's and John Hawkins' apartment to a Wolfgang von Snowden in Miami.
Gotcha.
Which we thought was odd enough to connect the two to take us to Miami.
In October of 1988, investigators flew to Miami hoping to speak with Mr. von Snowden at the address listed on the phone records. Wolfgang had already flown the coop, but he left behind a trail that pointed to his true identity.
He had moved right before we got there, and we were able to obtain a lease where Wolfgang had listed John Hawkins as a reference and Just Sweat. So we were pretty sure by then that we were on the right trail.
Volpe also discovered from the real estate agent that while in Miami, von Snowden had undergone plastic surgery.
We were able to get his Florida driver's license, which in spite of the plastic surgery, looked like Mel.
But it was handwriting samples obtained from the von Snowden lease that finally proved what investigators were beginning to suspect.
Handwriting is unique in the sense that we all have certain patterns of writing. My job was to take known samples that we know were prepared by Melvin Hansen and compare it against Wolfgang von Snowden.
If you look at the capital M in the initials, the Melvin matches the capital M in Miami.
It was my opinion that Melvin Hansen was the one who filled out the Wolfgang von Snowden application.
Melvin Gene Hansen was clearly very much alive. On October 14th, 1988, Volpe filed theft charges in Ohio against Melvin Hansen and John Hawkins on behalf of Farmers Insurance Company. Wolfgang von Snowden was entered as a known alias on the warrant for Hansen's arrest.
The fact that he had picked such an outrageous name as Wolfgang von Snowden and not a John Smith. If he had picked John Smith, I would have had a dickens of a time finding him.
Unlike Hansen, John Hawkins proved far more elusive, with plenty of cash and people at his disposal. For months, investigators tracked Hawkins from girlfriend to girlfriend across the country. They were always just one step behind him.
Hawkins was getting a lot of information from former girlfriends and mostly girlfriends here in Columbus about, keep moving, don't stop. He made people believe that they were the most important thing to him, and he took advantage of a lot of people.
Back in Glendale, California, only Dr. Boggs continued as if nothing had happened, maintaining that the man who died in his office was a patient of 7 years he knew as Melvin Hansen. With both Hansen and Hawkins now fugitives, media attention focused on Dr. Boggs.
My personal interest in the story was really precipitated by a call from a friend of my parents. She was suffering from a nerve degeneration and believed that he cured her after many other doctors had been unable to. And she said that he was a terrific doctor who had progressively fallen into personal corruption.
The turning point had come in 1970, when the promising young doctor put everything he had into a doomed venture.
In the early 1970s, he set out to form Southern California's first health maintenance organization. His life began to go downhill when that venture failed and he went bankrupt. And from that time on, he was always more or less in need of money. He gradually began to engage in a life of hedonism that was centered around the homosexual bar circuit in West Hollywood. This brought him into contact with Melvin Hansen and John Hawkins.
The night that the man who wasn't Melvin Hansen died in Boggs' office wasn't the first time the doctor was questioned by the police. In early April of 1988, a 43-year-old computer programmer named Barry Pomeroy had his own encounter with the charming doctor.
This seat taken.
The doctor had invited him back to his doctor's office, had offered to perform a free EKG on him. At the conclusion of that examination and testing, the doctor embraced him, which he thought was a nice gesture, only to find the doctor was attempting to shock him with a stun gun.
Barry Pomeroy told us, fought the doctor off. The doctor had apologized and said he didn't know what happened, that he just snapped.
Barry Pomeroy, who was almost a perfect match in terms of appearance, age, for Gene Hansen. It was really our contention during the investigation that Barry Pomeroy was the first intended victim.
To investigators, the timing between the assault on Pomeroy and the death of the man Boggs claimed was Melvin Hansen proved to be significant.
The life insurance policy was about to expire. That would have necessitated another physical examination of the insured, Gene Hansen. But Gene Hansen had already assumed a new identity, so it was incumbent upon the doctor to make something happen during the month of April.
What we know is the deceased person is not the true Melvin Eugene Hansen, but who, in fact, is the deceased person.
Once you find out who he is, find out how he came to be in that office, hopefully that would start filling in a lot of gaps.
So what do you want?
Yeah.
I want you to drive.
Yeah. Paul Walker.
The only way I'll do this is if I get to pick the driver.
Tyrese. You and me, just like the old days. Eva Mendes.
When do we start?
Right now.
Kevin Aoki. And Ludacris.
All right, here we go. Let's see if you still got it.
15 minutes, and then every cop in Florida's gonna be on you. This Friday, summer belongs to the streets. Too Fast, Too Furious, PG-13, starts Friday.
And now my dream car's here. I got a deal of this, I'm certain. Type in your choice, then hit return. You want selection, they're not hurting. Cars and trucks and cycles too. At the same place as this dress shoe. If it exists, it can be found. You can even buy a town and do it easy.
I'll get this. Getting a really low rate on this card.
Well, I hope it's a low fixed rate, like my Capital One no hassle card.
Low and fixed? So what's going to happen to my rate?
Check your mailbox for the Capital One no hassle card offer and get the nation's lowest fixed rates.
What's in your wallets?
We know you do it. You comparison shop. You come to Travelocity, you check out a fare, and then you run off and see if you can find it lower. But it's okay. We don't mind. You'll be back. Why? Because Travelocity consistently has the most low fares, making Travelocity the final destination for comparison shoppers everywhere.
Right now, you'll find even bigger savings on flights, hotels, and more during the easy-going summer sale.
Travelocity. Call or Seaside for details.
In a world filled with unimaginable danger, how on earth did they survive? Fighting famine, killer beasts, and worst of all, each other. Discover them at the one place that can bring them back to life. From the network that brought you the 2 highest-rated documentaries in cable history, Walking with Dinosaurs and Raising the Mammoth comes Walking with Cavemen, Sunday, June 15th at 8, only on the Discovery Channel.
On the next While You Were Out, Alex is into cars, so our design team is souping up his favorite room.
This is amazing.
Will Alex blow a gasket when he comes home? Then, an all-new episode at 9. Designer John Bruce's room renovation entails some complex carpentry. The design crew really has their work cut out for them.
I'm having a hard time.
See if they can wrap it all up before Corey returns. Don't miss 2 back-to-back episodes of While You Were Out, Friday at 8, only on TLC.
From sacrificial deaths to age-old traditions, TLC counts down the world's top 10 mummies and unlocks the secrets of their deaths. Ultimate 10 Mummies, Sunday, June 15th at 10, only on TLC.
On the morning of April 16th, 1988, a man who was not Melvin Hansen died. and no one who knew him was aware of his passing. A national fingerprint search found no match, which forced investigators to use other methods to identify the deceased.
We had this database that we had access to. It's called the National Crime Information Center, NCIC. It tracks unidentifieds by gathering information, you know, the description of the body, height, weight, race, eye color, scars, marks, tattoos. You input all this information, and 24 hours later, you will get a printout of all the missing persons that are similar. So I fed all that information in. The next day, I got like 75 pages of missing persons, so well over 100 hits.
One of Jerry's investigators found a missing persons report where Cleo Fasulo, the aunt of Ellis Henry Green, had reported him missing from the North Hollywood area here in Los Angeles County. The description, the dates matched sufficiently that the investigators then went to interview Cleo Fasulo.
The elderly aunt who had made the missing persons report was very close to Ellis Green. And the only photograph we had to show her was a picture of a dead body on the floor. And of course that didn't sit well with the aunt.
After 5 months, the man in Dr. Boggs' office had a name. The discovery was made September 29, 1988, on what would have been Ellis's 32nd birthday.
Ellis Green was a sometime bookkeeper, tax preparer, and after a very long day of preparing taxes on April 15th, he went out the end of the evening to celebrate, and that was the last time anyone ever saw him.
He was a very likable individual. He liked to go to the bars, liked to drink a little bit and hang out with the guys. And that's the type of person he was. He was essentially a harmless individual.
The identity of the dead man was the final piece of evidence that investigators needed to establish probable cause on a search warrant for Dr. Boggs. Within hours, teams descended simultaneously on his home and office.
The question now becomes, can we show that Dr. Boggs knew that our dead man was not the real Melvin Hansen?
Bingo.
We were looking for documentary evidence, any sort of documents that would have Melvin Eugene Hansen's name on it, any sort of notes, any sort of phone calls, phone directories, phone messages.
We learned that both John Hawkins and the true Melvin Hansen had been patients of Dr. Boggs for a number of years. We got his record taken by his receptionist of phone calls, and we had found that prior to the murder, both Hawkins and Hansen had called him repeatedly. And then at a certain point in time, Mr. Hansen faded out from view. Mr. Hawkins continued to call Dr. Boggs. And then a mysterious person, Wolfgang von Snowden, started calling Dr. Boggs.
We had, of course, at that time, photographs of the real Gene Hansen. We showed those photographs to Dr. Boggs' secretary.
Do you recognize any of these men?
Number 2, that's Mr. Hansen.
Are you sure?
Of course.
She identified that person as the doctor's longtime patient.
What about this guy?
No.
Showed her the photograph of Ellis Green. She had no idea who that was.
Well, that's the dead man. That's the man that Dr. Boggs identified as Melvin Hansen.
Gene Walker became visibly upset and broke down and said out loud, "What has he done?"
What started out as a case of insurance fraud was now looking more and more like murder.
When I became convinced that we had more than a life insurance fraud, I went over to the Glendale Police Department and I asked for their very best homicide investigator.
Lieutenant John Perkins was assigned to the case.
My job was to find out if this murder could be, in fact, put together. It wasn't your typical case. It was not your typical crew or suspected crew of people who commit murders. This was a murder that was committed to fool the police.
The first obstacle in the homicide investigation was the coroner's ruling of natural death, which led Perkins to the original pathologist. Perkins discovered that during the autopsy, the pathologist had been contacted by Dr. Boggs, who offered his assistance in determining a cause of death.
He said it a number of times. When I think about it, he probably said it a little too often.
In that conversation, I learned that she'd had conversation with Dr. Boggs, and that Dr. Boggs repeatedly told her that, you know, here's a patient that came to my office, he was complaining of upper left pericardial chest pain, and therefore he had to die of natural causes.
The official cause of death on the death certificate was non-specific focal myocarditis, a type of heart disease that can be fatal in advanced cases.
I had done some homework as to who wrote the book on myocarditis, and it just so happened that this doctor out of Cedars-Sinai was the expert on myocarditis. He was the guy I wanted to talk to.
He showed me his badge, and I could see his gun on his hip, and he said, are you Dr. Fishbein? I said, yes. And he said, would you look at some slides for me? And I wasn't going to say no. He asked me one question, did this man die of myocarditis? I looked at the slide, I said, no, I don't think so. Usually when someone dies of myocarditis, there are lots and lots of white blood cells, and there's damage to the heart muscle cells, and neither of those was present in this case.
So now I go back to the coroner's office and say, this is all his literature, this is his findings, would you reconsider these? I didn't expect the coroner's office to reissue a homicidal cause in this case, and they gave us the next best thing. They gave us death undetermined.
By the end of 1988, the murder investigation into the death of Ellis Henry Green was gaining momentum, when a lucky discovery by Lieutenant Perkins strengthened the case against Dr. Richard Boggs.
I obtained the medical file and I looked inside of it. Over a 3-month period, there were 3 EKGs that were given to Melvin Hansen. That was one of the first things that struck me. I was printing out a document. At the end of the document, there was some red dye at the end of that roll. I happened to notice this red dye also existed on 2 of these strips. You had no red dye on one, red dye only half the length of one, and red dye the entire length of the third. Any 4th grader could have done that at that point. You just take the 3 EKG strips and match the ends. Without a doubt, these 3 EKG strips were one continuous piece at one time. However, when you matched them end to end and you looked at the dates, they didn't correspond.
A tremendous, tremendous breakthrough. That then put Boggs in deep yogurt, you might say, that he was up to his hips in the murder.
I felt we had an absolute indication that this was a fraudulent medical file committed for the purpose of murder.
With Boggs' involvement a sure thing, Perkins turned to the doctor's phone records.
One of the telephone numbers that we identified on the morning of the murder came back to a local hotel, a hotel that's only 4 blocks from the doctor's office.
Just about the time the paramedics and the Glendale patrol officers were answering Dr. Boggs' 911 call, a Wolfgang Eugene von Schnoden checked into the Holiday Inn.
Hotel records from that morning revealed von Snowden had made 2 calls to airlines and booked an immediate return flight to Miami.
Since we knew he had arrived from Florida, we checked with the other airlines to see if they had a record of him coming into the Los Angeles area. And again, we found an airline that had flown him under his real name before his alleged death on the evening of April the 15th.
It started to present itself in a nice, neat little package. He flew here as Gene Hansen, and he returned back as Wolfgang von Snowden.
That became very important. It moved Mr. Hansen from being a conspirator to being a hands-on actual participant in the death of Mr. Green.
Hello, this is Infone.
Hello, Infone.
Hello, Mr. Patterson. How can we help you?
I'm not sure what this, I think it escaped from the zoo. Or maybe it's some kind of prank. But it is... Hold on. Wait, it's looking at me.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Sir, is there...
It's not a dog or a rat, but it's brown and looks like a giant guinea pig.
Well, Sounds like a job for animal control. Would you like me to connect you?
Animal control, yeah. Man, that thing can eat.
I'll stay on the line with you.
I'll get this. Getting a really low rate on this card.
Well, I hope it's a low fixed rate, like my Capital One no hassle card.
Low and fixed. So what's going to happen to my rate?
Check your mailbox for the Capital One no hassle card offer and get the nation's lowest fixed rates.
What's in your wallets?
Attention dog owners. A recent survey found deadly heartworm disease in nearly 250,000 dogs nationwide. Just one bite from a mosquito-carrying heartworm larvae can transmit it to your dog. As larvae migrate to the heart and lungs, they grow, causing serious health problems, and if left untreated, could cause the death of your dog. The good news is heartworm is easily prevented with HeartGuard Plus, first choice of veterinarians everywhere. Dogs think Real Beef HeartGuard Plus chewables are a tasty treat, but actually they're a once-a-month lifesaver. Dogs love to take, owners prefer to give.
To save $5 when you purchase HeartGuard Plus at your veterinarians and get a free heartworm information kit, call 1-800-651-2494 or log on to www.heartwormalert35.com now. Isn't your dog worth it?
HeartGuard is well tolerated. All dogs should be tested for heartworm infection before starting a preventive program. Following the use of HeartGuard, digestive and neurological side effects have rarely been reported. For more information, contact your veterinarian.
Uncut, unedited, and unpredictable. The most dangerous week on television starts Monday at 9. Only on Animal Planet.
Come on in, the water's great!
Saturday on TLC. Trading Spaces goes to Jolly Old, England to decorate 2 flats in true Yank fashion. Along with Changing Rooms carpenter, Handy Andy.
Carpenter.
Then it's back to the colonies, where Edward searches for serenity.
You know, I don't do uglies.
And the ever-so-graceful Hildy breaks a leg.
We're blaming it on the weather.
It's back-to-back fun on Trading Spaces, Saturday at 8, only on TLC.
Well, I like that most big ticket purchases are made by cable viewers, but I'm selling trucks here. Does cable work for men?
Does cable work for men? Take a look.
Where do I sign?
Adelphia Media Services. The power of cable starts here.
No matter what your kitchen looks like now, make it look brand new again with kitchen cabinet refacing from Century 21 Home Improvements, America's leader in cabinet refacing. We have the best selection of styles, colors, and accessories. You're sure to find a design that complements your home perfectly. Your cabinet frames are probably in great shape, so why replace them? You'll save hundreds of dollars by only replacing cabinet doors, drawer fronts, hardware, and countertops. Call Century 21 Home Improvements now and take advantage of our half-off offer. Pay no money down with payments as low as $79 per month. Call Century 21 Home Improvements now.
On the last night of his life, April 15th, 1988,
Frankie, my favorite face on a Friday night.
31-year-old Ellis Henry Green was celebrating the end of tax season.
How about a Metropolitan? Cosmopolitan, you mean?
Unaware of the elaborate plot that was being built around his chance resemblance to Melvin Hansen.
You seem happy, right?
We'll never know the final hours, but what we think happened is Boggs went trolling in the bars looking for someone who could be a reasonable facsimile of Melvin Hansen. Picked him up, invited him to come over and then for some drinks or whatever, and killed him.
He looked for somebody nobody cared about and would give him the most time possible to where somebody report him as a missing individual. Enter Ellis Green. Ellis Green didn't have a lot of strong ties in the community or family. He lived with an elderly aunt. He slept in one of the offices where he worked. Therefore, he was almost the perfect victim that Dr. Boggs had been looking for.
Ellis, I gotta make a phone call. Why don't you pay the tab, and we can get out of here when I get back.
We have a phone call on the early morning hours of April 16th from One call in particular at 1:22 a.m. back at the doctor's office.
Yeah. I think I've got a possibility.
It is 1:20. You had better have more than a possibility.
Okay, more than a possibility. He looks just like you. Let's do it.
When are you leaving?
Right now. I'll see you in 15.
Certainly Boggs had the expertise to be able to figure out a way to murder someone, but yet make it appear to be a natural death. If you're going to call the paramedics, if you know that's going to happen when you make the fake 911 call, you can't have a body that's riddled with bullet holes or knives, stabbings, or ligature marks.
Welcome to my office. Charming. You still want any KG? Sure. Okay, have a seat. I'll be right back.
You need to have a pretty pristine body that you can palm off as being your dear patient who just died from cardiac arrest.
Now, with an eye to murder, investigators once again comb through the autopsy report, looking for more clues to Green's final moments.
In reconstructing the autopsy and looking at the photographs, there was evidence of petechial hemorrhaging in the eyes and in the face.
Tiny purple dots, known as petechial hemorrhages, are a result of burst blood vessels beneath the skin, and they can indicate asphyxiation.
There was also evidence of cyanosis, or a purpling, if you will, of the fingertips and of the lips, indicating a lack of oxygen.
The fact that Boggs had used a stun gun in the attack on Mr. Pomeroy certainly supported our theory that basically Mr. Green had been a victim of a stun gun. If you're attacked with a stun gun, you're going to be in a state of paralysis.
Are you ready? Okay, get on this chest.
Which then makes it very easy to suffocate you without you being able to resist the suffocation, so that you end up with the appearance of a natural death.
Is that it?
That's it. Don't light it. Just get out of here. I'll call you later.
You take the circumstantial evidence that we had, and you take the physical evidence that we had, this was a very unique murder committed by a doctor who knew exactly what he was doing.
8 months later, on January 29, 1989, a suspected drug courier was detained at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport.
He had several identities in his possession, including the driver's license, social security number, and some other pieces of identification that belonged to the deceased, Ellis Green.
We learned pretty quickly from the sheriff's department in Texas that he had a book, How to Change Your Identity, that had been taken out of the Dade County Library. It's like, you know, okay, I guess that's not going to work.
One of the IDs in the name of Wolfgang von Snowden called up the arrest warrant Volpe had filed in Ohio. Texas customs officials arrested Melvin Hansen on the spot.
I often wonder if Hansen didn't want to be caught, quite frankly.
With Hansen in custody in Texas, Dr. Boggs was placed under 24-hour surveillance in California.
Hawkins was gone. Hansen was now in custody. Now what about Dr. Boggs? Well, we see him packing all of his stuff from the office, and we think this guy's going to leave. And at this point, we felt we had significant evidence to place him under arrest for murder.
On February 3rd, 1989, 5 days after the capture of Hansen, Lieutenant Perkins moved in to make the second arrest in the case.
We pulled up in the parking lot, confronted Dr. Boggs. How you doing? Turn around, put your hands behind your back, click, click, put him in the back seat of the car, and off we go to the station. And nothing's really said. It's kind of quiet, but then he turns to me and says, "What am I being arrested for?"
We're arresting you for the murder of Ellis Henry Green.
And in his pompous, arrogant manner, he turns to me and says, "I find that amusing in light of the coroner's report."
Hansen was a very sick man. He died of natural causes.
Anytime you arrest a murderer, it always feels great.
The doctor was the first of the three conspirators to go to trial. On May 29, 1990, in Los Angeles, opening statements were made in The People versus Richard Boggs.
In order to perpetrate the fraud, it was necessary to murder an innocent man. You try to pick a jury of 12 fair-minded people, and you try to logically and very professionally present all of the legally admissible evidence you have, and then let the chips fall where they may.
6 weeks later, on July 12th, Richard Boggs was found guilty on 9 counts, including first-degree murder, murder for financial gain, conspiracy, insurance fraud, and assault with a stun gun. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
The crime he committed wasn't brutal. It was just inhuman. It's just so hard to imagine. He was a man who took the Hippocratic Oath. The first line of the oath is, above all, do no harm.
The only thing outstanding was the person who was responsible for collecting all the money and leaving, John Hawkins.
If your tires can't do this, you need new tires that can. Goodyear tires. Right now, when you buy 4 selected Goodyear tires, you'll get up to a $50 gift card for the Home Depot. Now, that's one hard-working deal.
Die Hard Express, only at Sears Auto Center. It's more than battery service. It's a check of your car's electrical system. We use the latest technology to diagnose the problem. And if your car needs a new battery, we'll install a Die Hard. America's most preferred battery. Die Hard Express, only at Sears Auto Center. Sears, good life, great price.
You think about designing an SUV with room for 7 people. And room for the things that 7 people like to take along. But mostly, you think about the 7 people themselves and how an SUV can finally help protect each and every one of them. You think about that, then you build.
The new Volvo XC90, the first SUV equipped with third-row safety curtains, a roll stability control system, and guided by conscience.
Have you heard about the neighborhood? Where you can get local and long distance together for one low monthly price. Where your calling is unlimited, around town and across the country. Where voicemail and caller ID are included at no extra charge. The neighborhood, built by MCI. Where you can talk as long as you want, as often as you want, for one low monthly price.
Call 1-800-JOIN-MCI today and get unlimited local and long distance together.
Sarah Fisher does a lot of driving to and from work, so when Sarah needs brakes, she insists on premium quality Raybestos brand brakes. She knows there's a big difference in brake parts and repair, and that bargain brakes are no bargain. Why does Sarah know so much? Because she doesn't just drive to work, she drives at work. Discover what Sarah Fisher knows. Have your brakes checked every year and ask for premium quality parts.
A life-saving reminder from Raybestos, the best brakes.
They're here, ready to inherit the Earth. Well, maybe not just yet. Evolution of a new species. Robo Sapiens. Encore's Wednesday at 10, only on TLC.
Saturday, Trading Spaces goes to jolly old England to decorate 2 flats in true Yank fashion. Then, back in the colonies, Edward searches for serenity, and the ever-so-graceful Hildy breaks a leg. Trading Spaces, Saturday at 8, only on TLC.
TLC's got the truth behind urban legends.
On the next Mostly True Stories, find out why people feel the need to retell these haunting tales. A family pet swept under the rug. A gourmet meal with a surprise ingredient. A commode primed to explode.
Nobody believes these stories anyway. But maybe they should.
Mostly True Stories, Urban Legends Revealed. Next Tuesday at 9, only on TLC.
From sacrificial deaths to age-old traditions, TLC counts down the world's top 10 mummies and unlocks the secrets of their deaths. Ultimate 10 Mummies. Sunday, June 15th at 10, only on TLC.
It was a warm summer's day in August of 1991 when a man calling himself Bradley Bryant was arrested on the Italian island of Sardinia. Although he denied it, American authorities insisted that Bryant was the fugitive John Barrett Hawkins, the last of the 3 co-conspirators in the murder of Ellis Green. Bryant had been identified through the reach of a television crime show.
We got lucky, and one of the shows that we did aired in Amsterdam. a young girl who was watching the program and who recognized John Hawkins, not as John Hawkins, but as Bradley Bryant, a man that she had dated for a short time and had just left on a catamaran to head into the Mediterranean for a vacation. So now the track and the trail led to the Mediterranean.
The only American agency with the authority to nab Hawkins on the high seas was the Navy. Special Agent John Hogan was stationed at a submarine base on La Maddalena off the coast of Sardinia.
I didn't know anything about the Boggs case. I didn't know anything about the murder of Ellis Green. I happened to be the only sworn federal law enforcement officer from the United States anywhere near the fugitive. I got a request from our office in Los Angeles, but I found him on the 4th day in a little town called Canongione, a little rural port.
On the afternoon of August 2nd, 1991, at the request of the U.S. Navy, Italian police moved in to apprehend John Hawkins.
He was startled. He resisted initially, as I think anyone would, because I think he was just caught totally by surprise. Once it became clear to him that it was the police, he calmed down and was fine. He did say, you know, you've got the wrong person, I'm not who you're looking for, which was odd because no one had ever said, you know, John Hawkins, you're under arrest.
The man called Bryant was carrying travel documents in the name of Glenn Hewson, an alias not listed on the Hawkins warrant.
Sei tu John Hawkins? Rispondi. No. No.
The Italian police worried they arrested the wrong man.
Hai preso tu I soldi? Non la so niente.
Waiting for fingerprints meant possible incarceration of an innocent person.
They were looking for something, some information, that how they could officially identify him until everything arrived there. People who had been with Hawkins and around Hawkins informed me that he had a very unique characteristic on his appendage.
Oh, okay. What do you mean, like a birthmark?
He had vitiligo. That's the absence of skin pigmentation. I just said, well, you know, would you please check his appendage?
He has no pigmentation on his...
Of course, they heard that, and of course, you could hear this long pause, laughing in the background, and say, well, would you please check his appendage? So they did. And of course, it came back to me, and everybody's laughing. And the comment back to me was, only in America could this happen.
It was the end of a 3-year international multi-jurisdictional manhunt. But it would be another year before Hawkins was returned to California.
Italians refused to extradite someone who's subject to the death penalty. And so it took a year to send proper assurances to the Italian government that he would not be executed should he be convicted.
2 years after his arrest, on April 11th, 1995, Hawkins stood trial beside his former business partner, Melvin Hansen. Like Boggs, Hansen was found guilty of first-degree murder in the April 1988 slaying of Ellis Green, and he too was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Hawkins was found guilty of insurance fraud, grand theft, and conspiracy to murder. His sentence, 25 years to life. All 3 men went to prison, still denying any involvement in the death of Ellis Green. Even to the end, they maintained that Green had died of natural causes.
Somebody killed Ellis Green. I mean, he just didn't die on command in the doctor's office that night.
Every time and every year since this case, that April 15th, has come up, I've always thought of Ellis Henry Green and of this case.
In many communities, if a patient dies in a doctor's office from apparent natural causes, the police don't even bother to respond. The body is then taken away to a mortuary, cremated. There are no fingerprints, there are no photographs. And had that happened in this case, it would have been a perfect crime. The ultimate satisfaction is they're all in prison and they're going to spend the rest of their lives in prison.
Blackheads, dirt, oil, pimples. What a nightmare. Introducing the new IGEA Pore Cleanser. The IGEA Pore Cleanser gently and safely removes unsightly blackheads without squeezing or bruising your face. Now you can have clearer, healthier skin by deep cleansing your pores. It's the same technology used by dermatologists and facialists at professional spas to gently clean the pores and target pimples at the root of the problem. The IGEA Pore Cleanser uses the amazing power of suction and these specially designed nozzles to remove those stubborn blackheads and whiteheads as it passes over the surface of the skin. Look, makeup, oil, and dirt clog the pores, causing blackheads and pimples. But the IGEA Pore Cleanser's secret is in the specially designed nozzle that removes the dirt and oil buildup without harming the face. Imagine going from this to this in just minutes. Why not help your skin look its best?
My face was a mess, but the IGEA Pore Cleanser unclogged my pores and got rid of all the dirt and blackheads. It really works.
Attack blackheads, large pores, and small pores. Your skin will be left clean and refreshed. This incredible system uses deep penetrating suction to clean deep below the surface, removing dirt, oil, blackheads, even whiteheads. Plus, the IGEA Pore Cleanser is safe, hygienic, and easy to use. And in absolutely no time, you'll see the results. The Pore Cleanser has two specially designed suction nozzles. Use the facial cup for the forehead, cheeks, and chin. Switch to the nose cup to remove blackheads from the nose area. Now you can experience the luxury of a professional facial treatment right in the comfort of your own home. The IGEA Pore Cleanser cleans deep below the surface for cleaner, clearer skin in just minutes. Look at the amazing difference after just minutes of use with the IGEA Pore Cleanser. This is the latest technology in skin care. Get clear, healthy skin without embarrassing blackheads and pimples. Stop squeezing your pimples and bruising your face. Finally, with the IGEA Pore Cleanser, there's an easy way to solve this age-old problem. With the IGEA Pore Cleanser, you get a complete system to target pimples at the root of the problem. You'll see results in just minutes. It's the safe, hygienic, and easy way to get cleaner, clearer, and healthier skin. No more ugly pimples and blackheads. Let the IGEA Pore Cleanser just suction them away for you. Blackheads are created when excess oil solidifies in pores. IGEA Pore Cleanser uses gentle, deep cleaning suction to remove excess oil in pores before they can become blackheads. Go from dirt and oily blackheads to clean, clear, and refreshed, beautiful, silky skin. Squeezing pimples and blackheads actually spreads bacteria to other parts of your face, making the problem worse. And all that pressing and pushing can bruise and scar your face. Now there's modern technology that cleans clogged pores safely, effectively, and easily. It's the IGEA Pore Cleanser, and it uses the amazing power of suction and these specially designed nozzles to remove those stubborn blackheads and whiteheads as it passes over the surface of the skin. The IGEA Pore Cleanser gently and safely removes unsightly blackheads without squeezing or bruising your face. Now you can have clearer, healthier skin by deep cleansing your pores. It's the same technology used by dermatologists and facialists at professional spas to gently clean the pores and target pimples at the root of the problem. The IGEA Pore Cleanser uses the amazing power of suction and these specially designed nozzles to remove those stubborn blackheads and whiteheads as it passes over the surface of the skin. It cleans pores below the surface to effectively help prevent breakouts. Professional facialists use similar devices and can charge over $100 for treatment. But now you can have the same technology for a fraction of the cost, and you can use it again and again. Everyone who tries the IGEA Pore Cleanser agrees it really works. And now it's available at such an affordable price, there's never been a better time to order. Whether you're fighting the oiliness of younger skin or the effects of aging, finally there's an easy way to solve this age-old problem. Similar products sell in catalogs for over $79. Now you can say goodbye to blackheads and blemishes with our complete IGEA Pore Cleanser systems for only $19.99. But wait, you'll also get this 100% pure cotton bathrobe. Relax in luxury and style in this soft, comfortable robe from IGEA. It's an $80 value, free plus shipping and handling. And with our satisfaction guarantee, you're assured to see fabulous results. If you don't have clearer, cleaner, and healthier skin in just minutes, return your Pore Cleanser for a full refund of the purchase price. But keep the spa robe as our gift to you just for trying the IGEA Pore Cleanser. You get the IGEA Pore Cleanser and the free 100% cotton robe, all for just $19.99 on this special TV offer. Also ask how you can get the free instructional video. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-731-7171 to order the IGEA Pore Cleanser for only $19.99 or send a check or money order to the address below. The IGEA Pore Cleanser is the safe, easy, and effective way of giving you clearer, healthier skin. You'll also get the luxurious 100% cotton spa robe and $80 value free plus shipping. If you're not completely satisfied, return it and keep the spa robe as our gift to you. That's the IGEA Pore Cleanser and the spa robe, all for only $19.99. Call now, 1-800-731-7171. That's 1-800-731-7171.
The following is a paid presentation for Tempur-Pedic, changing the way the world sleeps.
It doesn't matter how much you try to accomplish or how fast you try to get it done. There's still only 24 hours in a day. It's hard enough rushing through a stressful world during your waking hours. So why add to that stress in bed, tossing and turning on an uncomfortable metal spring mattress? You deserve a good night's sleep, and that's just what you'll get with the Tempur-Pedic Swedish sleep system. The only mattress that uses the gravity-defying Tempur material originally developed by NASA.
If I ever could imagine floating on a cloud, it would be like this.
Ese tipo de mujeres no se amedrentan con nada.
Pues quién sabe. Con suerte hasta empieza a pensar muy seriamente en largarse del pueblo.
¿Ya estás más tranquila?
Un poco. Pero de todas maneras me siento muy mal.
¿Por qué? La que tendría que sentirse mal es la tal Pilar esa y la gentuza que te agredió.
¿Que no oíste? Todo lo que me gritaron.
Fueron puras mentiras, así que no te mortifiques.
Pero esa gente no lo sabe. Están convencidos de que soy la peor de las mujeres. Yo creo que ni a mi mamá se atrevieron a hacerle algo así.
La verdad es que no.
¿Hasta cuándo voy a tener que seguir cargando con sus pecados? ¿Cuándo me van a dejar de tratar así? ¿Qué tengo que hacer para convencerlos que no soy ese tipo de mujer?
Tú no tienes que demostrarle nada a nadie. Tu conciencia está tranquila y eso es lo único que tiene que contar para ti.
Pues eso no es suficiente, tía. Si lo fuera no me sentiría tan mal, tan impotente, tan frustrada. Porque además, al fin consiguieron sacarme de mi casa.
¿Pudiste confirmar que tu querida Alfonsina está bien?
No me dejaron verla. Para su familia mi presencia le hace daño. Puede que tengan razón. Porque de alguna manera yo soy la causa de todos sus problemas.
Espero que ya te hayas convencido que ni tu madre ni yo tuvimos nada que ver con lo que pasó. Todo fue obra de Pilar.
Sí, oí lo que dijo Altagracia. Por supuesto que fue a hablar con mi madrina.
¿Te explicó por qué se atrevió a hacer lo que hizo?
La única explicación que puede haber es que está enferma de la cabeza. Sí. Necesita un psiquiatra urgentemente.
Lo que tiene se llaman celos. Está convencida que entre tu padrino y Alfonsina...
Mamá, ¿no te parece que ya está bien de estupideces y de mentiras?
Muchas veces te he repetido que Alfonsina no es tan inocente como supones. Y si ha tenido tantos problemas, ha de ser por algo. Francamente, no creo que todo esto sea gratuito. De alguna manera ella misma lo ha provocado.
Papá, ya no quiero escuchar más necedades.
Te recuerdo que hay cosas que se heredan y te guste o no, Alfonsina heredó mucho de su madre.
Tampoco creo que ella haya sido una porquería, porque después de todo mi papá se enredó con ella. Le encantan ese tipo de mujeres, porque luego hizo lo mismo con Eloísa Castañeda. Por cierto, papá, ¿qué ha sido de tu amiguita?
Se regresó a San Luis.
Claro, qué respuesta tan tranquilizadora y sobre todo conveniente.
Quiero pasar a ver a Alfonsina antes del trabajo. No dormí en toda la noche esperando que fuera hora para ir a verla.
De veras que la pobre muchacha se llevó un sustote. Espero que en la casa del padre Salvador esté más tranquila.